Good evening, everyone. It's 5 o'clock, so we will call the city council meeting to order. Our first thing to do is the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to look at the agenda and accept it?
Move to adopt.
Any discussion? All right, we need a roll call vote.
Mayor Allen,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Pro Tem Hand,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Polak,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews, Councilmember Acock.
Yes.
All right, the consent agenda is passed. Next, we got to get to old business, and we got the 18-19 audit update. Tim,
Yes,
is
sir.
you?
We have Mr. John Frank and Chad Cook from our city auditors, Dixon Hughes and Goodman on the line, and our city finance director, Catherine Gwynn, here as well. So, John, if you could give us an update on where we're at with the audit, we appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate you allowing us to join you this afternoon to give you an update on the audit. When we last met with you, of course, we indicated that we were hoping the audit could be finalized in January. Unfortunately, the city identified some additional issues related to prior years that prevented us from finishing up the audit last month. The issues that were identified generally related to certain liabilities were overstated, and in one case, there was a discovery of a fairly large receivable in the city that went back several years that had not been previously recorded on the city's books. As I mentioned to you on our last call, fortunately, the net result of these prior period adjustments has been to increase the city's previously reported net position and fund balance, and the net result of the items that were discovered in January continued this trend. Additionally, there still have been cases of fraud or any misappropriation of assets in prior years. So hopefully all the significant prior period issues have been identified, and we're in a position to move forward and finish things up. Another thing I'll mention to you is that Tim, Catherine, and I had a call last week with Susan McCullen at the Local Government Commission, and the purpose of this call was to give the LGC an update of the audit and to discuss in detail some of the issues that have been encountered. So they're well aware of this situation and are up to date on everything. So those are the only comments that I had, and I'll be glad to answer any of your questions.
Yeah, this is Mayor Allen. I didn't understand the problem when you just said it. What's wrong?
Well, just to reiterate, general, the reason this audit's been so delayed is because so many issues have been identified by the city that relate to prior years. And some additional issues were uncovered in January by the city's finance staff. Basically, bookkeeping entries that hadn't been posted. Specifically, as I mentioned, there was a, receivable due to the city that went back several years that hadn't been recorded on the books. There was also a liability, a payable that was on the books of the city, which was determined not to be properly accrued. So, just in general, we continue to find some additional bookkeeping issues that had to be cleaned up in January. But, as I mentioned, hopefully the city's done enough due diligence at this point to, move forward and wrap up the preparation of the financial statements.
So do you feel like that'll be done in the next 2 weeks?
Don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but certainly sometime in the month of March, if not sooner. We've brought in, some additional resources to help us, wrap things up. So I can't think of any reason why it wouldn't go, beyond another month.
Anybody else got a question or got anything to say?
Well, I think, based on our conversation, they understand that there were issues that have to be addressed before the audit can be finalized, that go back several years. It's not something that arose in fiscal 19 or 20. It's just that there were, problems with the accounting records, that go back, a number of years that, have to be addressed and corrected before, fiscal 2019 and fiscal 2020 can be finalized.
What year are we trying to fix?
Well, it's the fiscal 2019 that, we're trying to issue, but, without getting into a whole lot of accounting lingo, some of the errors that occurred in prior years are going to have to be reflected on the opening balances of fiscal 2019, and that's what we refer to as a prior period adjustment. So, it's kind of a culmination of several years. There's not just one year in particular, but, particularly with fixed assets and some inventory items.
Anybody got anything else or any questions? Catherine, you got anything? Huh? Well, I guess we can say bye.
Thank you, John and Chad. Appreciate the update and appreciate the work you guys are doing for us.
All right, thank you.
But now don't forget who you're working for us now.
Right,
All right.
absolutely.
Have a good day.
You as well, thank you.
All right. Next, we got the Tourism Board appointment discussion.
Yes, sir. At the last meeting, staff provided council with the 2 current applications for the hotelier position. The Tourism Board has recommended the appointment of Tyrone Barrett and to fulfill the vacancy left when Ms. Elba, and I'm probably going to pronounce her name incorrectly, Gutierrez, resigned back in January. So we're just asking that council consider discussing the vacancy and who you would like to appoint as the new member.
Okay, so we got one vacancy on the Tourism Board.
Yes, sir.
And what was the person you said?
The Tourism Board has recommended Tyrone Barrett,
Okay.
and there were 2 applications, current applications, Tyrone Barrett and Tammy Cannon.
Okay. I mean, can we just go to Tyrone Barrett? Does anybody care?
Is their board recommended?
Yeah, that's where it came from, is their board. And if they recommend anything, I want them to do, I want to try to do it.
Yes, sir. They recommended Mr. Barrett.
Okay. Y'all good? Yeah. You good? Ty, you good? He's ignoring me. You good?
Yes, I'm in favor of that.
Gene?
Okay,
Okay.
well, we'll bring back a resolution at your next meeting officially appointing Mr.
Okay,
Barrett.
that'll be fine.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Next we got new business.
None?
I guess we don't really have anything down to, presentations they can do there, vacant council. I guess we're talking about the vacant council seat. Is that where we are?
You want to go to the consent agenda?
The discussion has been for the vacant council to be done in the regular meeting.
Okay.
Certainly, this is y'all's meeting, it's not our, suggestion.
Well, if we said we were going to,
That it be done in the form of regular.
yeah, let's keep it that way. All right. What?
Yes.
What'd you say?
Are you ready for the consent agenda?
Fine with me. I am, E, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you say Christopher? I see him on here, so let's see.
I'll do my part and I'll, good evening, Mayor and Council. The city last conducted a search for insurance brokerage services in April of 2017, at which time Crawford Henderson was selected to represent the city for all insurance coverage except for liquor liability and excess workers' comp. The process was assisted with the help of SS Consulting. In the agreement that was entered into at the time, the commission to the insurance broker was paid by the insurance company and was included in the cost of the premiums paid by the city. The last proposal period was through the end of fiscal year 2020. However, due to staffing and workload, we extended the period to the end of fiscal year 2021. Currently, the city carries multiple types of insurance to hedge against peril and risk, such as general liability, auto, property, crime, inland marine, professional liability, umbrella, cyber threats, liquor, flood, drone, and excess workers' comp. For fiscal year 21, the cost total of insurance premiums that we paid totaled approximately $690,000 for insurance coverage. So the process of selecting a broker is actually an important financial decision. The finance staff has worked with our insurance consultant, Riskversity, represented by Mr. Christopher Holmes, for the past 9 months to develop a request for proposal to address the needs and issues of the city. We had a committee that we formed to go over all the proposals that was made up of myself, Ms. Nona Robbins, the procurement specialist, Ms. Bernadette Dove, Human Resources Director, and Mr. Robin Gerganis, our Risk and Safety Manager. We were concerned about risk management services, training, and technology that the insurance broker could provide to us. We moved away from the model of commissions that were included in the premium and requested a fee-based approach. Attached to your agenda item is the recommendation of Mr. Holmes, and Mr. Holmes is with us tonight to give a brief presentation about the process that we went through. Chris?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you good.
Excellent. There's a slight delay in feedback on my end, so I apologize if I sound a little choppy to you as well. As Ms. Catherine just outlined, this year we changed the process just slightly than what we did inside of years past. She mentioned Essex Consulting. That's a firm that our company acquired. So now, that's happening underneath Riskversity now as well. So I'm just going to touch on 3 points, which is the process, the responses that we received, and then, of course, our recommendation for this year. The broker process that we typically have gone through is on the right-hand side, which is industry standard. Essentially, this is whenever we go out to market and request quotes for insurance coverages from various brokers inside of the marketplace. As Ms. Glenn outlined, commissions are received from the carriers and paid to brokers who are working on their behalf. In this process, at times it can be price sensitive and commoditized because of the way that process works, and folks are kind of compared not on their services, but instead based on the insurance premiums that are being charged. Because of this, there's potential conflict that exists. It's not a direct conflict, but there is a potential conflict because if a broker does a good job, so to speak, and reduces the cost of coverage, then they are also reducing the commissions that they are being paid or compensated. So this year, we focused on doing a broker RFP and compared each individual services for a flat fee from the city and to make sure that those interests were aligned. Because of that, we had 5 companies that responded, and the top 3 companies that were selected were Arthur J. Gallagher, Surrey, and McGriff. Each of these organizations had pros and cons for working with them, but as is outlined inside of the attachment that Ms. Gwynn referenced earlier, we recommend that we select Arthur J. Gallagher because of the services that they can offer and the pricing that they can do for the coverages that the city needs at this time. I'll pause there and answer any questions that you may have.
Everybody good?
I have a question. You can probably answer it though, Ms. Catherine. Where did Crawford and Henderson fall on that list? I know they don't appear to be in the top 3, but where are they on the list?
So, they actually were at the bottom of the list, and the part of it was price, and what we did is we worked with Chris to develop the list of how we graded these out. Price was 18% of the score, and the loss control support services was about 14.5, and those were the 2 areas that Crawford Henderson scored the lowest on. And, currently right now, any kind of risk control services we get is from the actual insurance carrier. So if, let's say, it's Travelers of America does our property, that's who would provide us risk control services. And I don't know if Bernadette is on the line, but we had Bernadette and Robin involved in the process because of, we've had a lot of accidents over the past couple of years, a lot of property damage, vehicle damage, not so much bodily injury, but we have had a number of workman's comp cases. And what we were concerned about is not just getting risk control services from the insurance company, but also from the insurance brokers. And the ones that we had here actually have people on staff that do that, and they provide customized training. They've got technology-based services. So what I felt like it was my duty was to make sure that the city was getting the most it could, because we can't afford, another risk person on staff. So we were trying to get as much as we could and get those technological resources as well. So those were the areas that really Arthur J. Gallagher scored well in. And I don't know if, Chris, you can add anything to my comments?
Yes, ma'am. One of the areas that they scored very well in was the online services that the city is looking for. So there's a certain number of certificates of insurance as well as W-9 issuance that happens within the city. And the process that they have and the tools that they have in place will afford Ms. Nona and Ms. Gwen to essentially outsource that completely within the scope of the fee that they offer. It's going to free up some of the time of them on staff, as well as, quite frankly, have a better system in place, at least a more efficient system in place for managing both of those areas. In addition, Arthur J. Gallagher did have an MBE partner, which met the requirements of the bid, Minority Business Enterprise, and that was something else to give them some additional marks inside of their score.
Did that answer your question?
Anybody else got any questions so far? All right. Are we done?
Yes, sir.
I do have a question. Sure. The gentleman off is the video, is he off?
No, I'm still here, sir. Did you want me to leave?
No, it's for Ms. Gwen.
Yes, sir.
You saw the message from Ms. Musselman.
I did.
Are you planning to respond to it?
Well, I was
I
going
know
to...
you were not the only addressing.
True, yes. I actually called Ms. Musselman on the Monday before and let her know, because I didn't want her to, get this information after the fact. So I discussed it with her. And I appreciate all the hard work she has done. I mean, you literally, if you could call her at midnight, she would answer the phone. And she has been so helpful to us. But I think the part that we were looking at is the training and the risk control services. When we're talking about our employees, the workman's comp cases, we've had quite a few of those slips, trips, falls. We've had a lot of vehicular accidents. And so we were looking for those additional resources, whether they're technological or training. And so that's really, how we came about the process. We could have. I mean, we could have just said we want to go with one person. We weren't required to bring it to council. But I felt like it was an important process that we had involvement amongst our staff about the ones that are affected by this.
Okay. I wasn't asking, I'm saying this respectfully, by the way, I wasn't asking for you to justify.
Sure.
I just want to know if you were going to give her a courtesy response.
I can, I mean, I can respond. It was actually addressed to the council,
I know,
but
I know.
I'd be more than happy to
Or you
respond.
or the manager, one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be more than happy to respond to her and talk with her about the
You said you already talked to her, right?
I did. I talked to her the Monday, and then this communication came, I believe, on Friday. But I did talk to her a week ago.
Okay.
Yes, sir,
All
I
right,
did.
thank you.
And I thanked her, because I really do appreciate all she's done for us.
This is a 4-year,
It's actually a 3-year. We did 4 years this past time because of our workload. So the one that was done in 2017, and to my knowledge, they had not done one before. It had been McGriff and BB&T Forever and a Day. So that one was for fiscal 18, 19, and 20. And I had to extend it 1 year due to my workload.
so
So
we're talking, win, lose, or draw, we're talking a 3-year.
this is 3 years. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mhm.
Ms. Catherine?
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
I know you already answered this question, but just for my own settling in my mind. So in a nutshell, the only reason that we did this is because Crawford and Henderson can no longer provide the service that we now need? Is that?
No, the agreement period was up.
Right.
And we feel like it's in the best, and we should try to do that to be competitive. We just went out to competitively bid to make sure that we got the best service for the city. And so it wasn't that she could or couldn't provide it, it's just when the scores came out, she just wasn't in, her firm was not in the top 3. And then we interviewed the top 3 firms and then selected the Arthur J. Gallagher based on, we met with them, we let them present again, we scored them again, and then we came back together and came to a consensus as the group of us.
So is it kind of like we're putting, and this is no insult on her business, but is it saying we're putting like a little ball against a big ball? So if these bigger companies is in competition with the smaller company naturally, but you're saying she can provide the services that we need, but in comparison to the bigger ball, it does, is that what you're saying?
She can't provide all the services that we need.
Okay.
Is that a fair statement, Chris?
That is, and the comparison that we're using as far as, size is concerned, one of the other organizations that presented is Surrey Insurance, which is a local, to North Carolina at least, agency. It's not a national brokerage like Arthur J. Gallagher or McGriff, and the services that they provided were also scored more favorable than Ms. Muslims.
All right, what y'all want to do?
That's on the consent agenda.
Yeah, are there any additional questions? I mean, you can remove it from the consent agenda if there's concern, or you can leave it on there.
I mean, I'm fine with leaving it on, it's whatever
I mean,
y'all want to do.
the key is there's some risk control services on the new people we're hiring that weren't available, as I understand it, correct?
Correct.
Right? And the previous persons was getting paid on a commission based on how much the insurance costs were, and now you have a flat fee.
That's correct.
Anybody else got anything?
I personally think it should be under individual action.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
I think it should be moved to individual action.
Oh, well, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
Huh? Was that a motion?
Yes, you had a motion and a second.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, we got to move to individual action. All right, now we got item F.
Okay, let me get the next one.
Thank you, Ms. Catherine. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I have item F on the agenda, which is change order number 1 to the treatment plant plate seller project WIF 1942, which is formal bid number 2019 number 4. The plate seller project consists of installing inclined plate sellers in the 7 sedimentation basins at the water treatment plant. This project will increase settling, which will ultimately increase capacity at the plant from 12 million gallons a day to 14 million gallons a day. Staff have worked with the contractor and engineering consultant on a change order for the project completion due date due to manufacturing delays and the weather from COVID-19. Revised the location of the water supply line and requested revised drawings. Turner Murphy Company submitted an estimated cost of $6,405, resulting in a 0.47% change order request for the contract amount, less than 1%. The manufacturing delays and additional work will require the contract final completion time to extend by 100 days. The amended contract final completion date will be May 14th, 2021. Staff recommends issuing a change order to the current contract with Turner Murphy Company for the plate seller project. We have reviewed this change order with the finance director, and there's funds available in the SRF loan reimbursement. It's recommended that City Council by motion adopt the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a change order for $6,405 with Turner Murphy Company, contingent upon DWI approval.
Any questions?
I also have item G, which is change order number 1 for the water treatment plant plate seller project, WIF, for consulting services. The plate seller project, again, consists of the inclined plate cellars into the 7 sedimentation basins, which will ultimately increase the plant capacity from 12 million gallons a day to 14. Case-specific analysis has been conducted on over half of the installed structural supports for the plate seller pack beams. Required minimum anchor bolt depths have not been met due to hitting existing rebar and reinforcement in the concrete walls, requiring shallower depths than what was originally specified. This additional analysis was not foreseen in advance, and it's beyond the current scope of the work in the project. Staff recommends issuing a change order to the current purchase order agreement, P 2007-455 with AH Environmental Consultants for the water treatment plant plate seller project. We've also reviewed this change with the finance director and determined that funds are available with the SRF loan reimbursement. It is recommended that City Council by motion adopt the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a change order for $4,812.50 with AH Environmental Consultants, contingent upon DWI approval.
Any questions?
Mike, I just got one question. We've been playing with plate settlers at least 10 years now.
Yes, sir.
Even before you, why in the world were the anchor bolts? Looks like the engineer or design guy should have figured that out.
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with a home construction project, when you try to anchor a picture to the wall, and you stick that anchor bolt through the wall, sometimes you end up hitting a stud, and so that's the case, is they're hitting the rebar. You don't know until you actually drill the holes, and it's happened on over half of them. So that's where we're trying to get 4 bolts to anchor those beams in, and that's where the issue is coming up.
And there's no way to do it different or do it?
If you have to, if you move it an inch, you have to move the whole plate seller pack an inch, which then changes the scope of the weir.
Okay.
We've been fighting these plate settlers for years.
Yeah, well, the project's on the verge of completion. It's working great right now, before they're already installed.
Good.
Thank you.
Anything else from him? All right, thank you. Next, we got the 42nd Annual Greater Goldsboro Road Run, temporary street closing.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Got item H on the consent agenda. It's going to be the 42nd Annual Greater Goldsboro Road Run Temporary Street Closing. An application was received from the Sunrise Kiwanis of Goldsboro requesting permission to hold their 42nd Annual Greater Goldsboro Road Run on Saturday, April 17th, 2021, from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. The race is scheduled to begin at Spruce Street on Center Street and in between Chestnut Street and Spruce Street on Center Street. and also runs through the downtown area of Walnut Street, out to Evergreen, Andrews, Berry, Claiborne, Mulberry Street, and Pine Street. The police, fire, public works, and downtown Goldsboro offices have been notified of this request. The race has 3 routes, and they'll be using for the 10K, the 5K, and the 1-mile run. All 3 routes will start and finish in the same area and will have staggered start times. The time requested for the closing is from 7 a.m. until 11 a.m. Staff recommends approval of this request subject to the following conditions. All intersections remain open for police department traffic control. A 14-foot fire lane is maintained in the center of the street to provide access for fire and emergency vehicles. All activities, changes in plans, etc. will be coordinated with the police department. The police, fire, public works, and downtown Goldsboro officers are to be involved in the logistical aspects of this event. It is recommended that the council approve the street closing of sections of Center Street and Pine Street, Spruce Street, Chestnut Street, Walnut Street, and Mulberry Street for the 42nd Annual Greater Goldsboro Road Run event, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Saturday, April 17th of 2021.
Any questions? All right.
I have a question, Chief. In reference to social distance, I know it's a race, so, are they gonna be required to wear like a light mask, being they're gonna be in large numbers running in these areas, or are there any stipulations?
Right, they do have the executive order with the stipulations of what they have to adhere to.
Okay.
And there will be masks when they're stationary before they start running, and then they'll be in groups apart. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item I, the adoption of the city emergency operations plan, fire department. Chief, where you been?
Mr. Mayor, good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, citizens of Goldsboro. Pleasure to be before you this evening to speak on what you have in front of you, hopefully the resolution to adopt the revised Goldsboro Emergency Operations Plan. When I arrived in Goldsboro 2018, it was one of the issues that I identified that the city had. This book is circa 2005, and it was a draft, and it has not been updated since. As you're well aware, the Emergency Operations Plan is essential as part of governance in protecting our citizens and visitors to Goldsboro. So with the blessing of the city manager, I started in 2020, and as a certified emergency manager, was able to put together a document that is going to, I believe, serve the citizens of Goldsboro. Like every other document, Eisenhower said, planning is everything, plans are nothing, so it has to be updated annually. And you should make sure you keep it updated annually, but it's something else, hopefully, that I will leave my legacy as part to support the citizens of Goldsboro. Are there any specific questions regarding the document?
Yes, Chief. I appreciate all the work that you've done. As you know, I teach public safety, so I use your model as a template. Can you kind of elaborate on all of what you had to do to get this to where it is now?
Thank you, Mr. Councilman. And actually, as you know, Councilman Pollard, our assistant city manager, there's a list of people, but you know, when I asked for people to work with it, Dr. Donna Lake, you know, part of having an emergency operations plan, you got to have people that understand it and know how to use the document. And you also want input from all your stakeholders, your community stakeholders. So having members of government, members, elected officials, our citizens, faith-based, Dr. Anthony Slater, it was important to bring them all together and make sure that they got the input, they were able to review the document. They gave up, Councilman gave up his own time to come in and sit and to make sure that we had a document again that was based on community, their understanding, and something that during times of an event or an incident that we'd be able to use it to better protect our citizens.
Thank you.
And again, I appreciate your support, sir, with that as well. So the one thing, if I might, one of the questions I was asked was, there's nothing in this document that is critical. There's one instance in there where you will have to identify your critical infrastructures, and then there's a reference to for official use only. But this is a document that is still going to be up to you gentlemen and lady, whether or not it's going to be, but it's something that could be published on your city webpage.
Chief,
Sir?
believe it or not, I looked at all 100-plus pages of that document. Can I recite any page? No, I can't. But I did look at them. And you alluded to the team that worked towards this, including Councilman Poland.
That's correct.
And I wish to thank all those members. I haven't seen them individually, probably won't, but I know they gave their time for a very important purpose. Being a military person, myself and Councilman Baldwin, we understand the importance of having plans. And of course, let's not forget our manager over there either. And so I think you and I spoke about this a few years ago, shortly after you came on board.
That's correct.
And I'm glad to see that this is one of those things that you leave behind as you leave that was needed. And what I would charge our city manager and staff in future, Chief, is exactly what you said. It has to be looked at annually and updated. And
Yes, sir.
again, thank you and commend you for the work.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Chief, I'd just like to echo some of what Councilman Hammond's saying. Most of us work very well on EOPs, but I've always called them SOPs because the standard operating procedures, but when you get in a hurry and things are happening, it's nice to have a book to look at. And I know the kind of effort. I've written enough SOPs to know how hard these are to do and to get all the steps. And I'd like to thank you personally and try to think.
And the team, I deflected to you, it wasn't, I was the lead, but it was never an individual effort.
But you got to think through every contingency and try to catch them all. And I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I'd also like to echo thanks for your leadership, Chief. Appreciate your expertise in this and the people who help. Now the next step is to train on it. So we have to get staff in there and train. And we're also down in the new safety complex setting up an emergency operations center in our training room there. So we'll have TVs and capabilities and communication there that we currently don't have.
Is this at the new training center, at the county's training center?
No, in ours. So there's different ports.
Public safety, the headquarters.
Yeah.
And if I might, because I just, it's like people. So it was Randy Guthrie, Joshua Stein, Felicia Brown, Dr. Donnelly. This is for the citizens at home. These are Councilman Taj Polick, Captain Gary Howland, Sherry Archibald, Sean Quimby from the United States Air Force Base, Deputy Chief Farford, Dr. Anthony Slater, Cricket Davis from YMCA, Mark Holbrook, and Bobby Jones. So those were all people that supported in one way or another. And thank you all.
This is also tied with Wayne County's EOP, right? You've coordinated.
Well, based on North Carolina statute, Wayne County bears the responsibility by statute, but it doesn't preclude the city from having a plan, which is why we do, because emergencies should be handled at the lowest level. But this gets the city started when the city has an issue, and then yes, it coordinates with operations with Wayne County and Mr. Stryker in this case. Director Honeycutt.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, thanks, Chief. I guess next we got the contract award for consulting services.
Good evening. Item J is a contract award for consulting services for our annual action plan. The City of Goldsboro seeks consultant services to produce an annual action plan describing the planned use of local, state, and federal funds for housing and community development purposes throughout the city. This annual action plan will closely align with our current 5-year consolidated plan. This will actually be year 2 out of 5. Two Rivers Development Partners proposing engagement of up to 4 months to manage the process of soliciting resident and stakeholder engagement, producing the AAP, and working with city staff to create a final plan and document suitable for city approval and submission to HUD. Normally, we do this type of document in-house. There's been a few years where we've contracted it out, but with our CD administrative position vacant, and me trying to fill in, I don't have the time or staff or really probably the expertise to get it done and still make us be in compliance with HUD's date, which is currently in May. So it's recommended that the City Council by motion adopt the attached resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a contract not to exceed $20,000 with Two Rivers Development Partners for the development of our annual action plan.
Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Randy. All right, anybody got any department questions or monthly reports?
Just got item K first, meeting dates. Do you have anything to add?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. Just, it's adopting your revised council meeting schedule to add the retreat dates for February the 24th and 25th.
Hey, Melissa,
Yes,
on
sir.
the 24th and 25th, I thought we took that down to one day. Is that just in my
We
mind?
said we were going to try to keep it to a day, maybe a day and a half.
Okay.
That's one thing, we can do it over at the Goldsboro Event Center, or do it right here if you'd like. We're currently set up, so whatever we would need that's here, we would live stream it the same way, and department heads will in person present their own issues. But if you happen to have a question while someone else is presenting something, they'll be able to WebEx in. So I was going to talk to you afterwards where you wanted to do it.
Okay.
All right, any more questions on that? All right. Now, department monthly reports. Anybody got anything on that? I don't see no response, so I'm going to say no. Items requiring individual action, as we got to do the home thing, but we got what everybody's here for that. Okay. So, I mean, to me, that's all I see we can do. What do you want? We got a closed session? Okay.
Closed session for personnel, potential litigation, and also economic development.
I make a motion to go into closed session for
Potential litigation
litigation.
and economic development.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right. We're in closed session.
Okay, give me just a minute before you guys proceed, so I can make sure we're off. Okay, we're back on, so now if you guys are ready to recess, you can do so.
What did she say?
She said if you're ready to recess, just, we're back into open session.
Okay, we're out of closed session and we're gonna go back into, open session.
That's right.
Okay? All right, so now we're in open session. I don't think we have anything to do.
Just recess, sir.
What?
If we could recess.
Recess until 7.
Yeah, I guess we can recess until 7 unless anybody's got anything.
Second.
All right, we're gonna recess until 7. Or 5 till 7, so.